What if Prussia lost the Austro-Prussian War? In our own timeline, after the death of King Frederick Wilhelm IV of Prussia and accession of Wilhelm I, Otto von Bismarck was made minister-president of Prussia. He sought to unite Germany under the leadership of Prussia. His first target was Denmark, which he and Austria invaded to take Schleswig and Holstein. Next he invaded Austria itself, and just 6 weeks later won. Prussia united North Germany into the North German Confederation and pushed Austria out of German affairs. Lastly, he would also fight against France, and finally unite Germany, and also take Alsace-Lorraine from France. Austria would meanwhile transform into Austria-Hungary and just little over 50 years later would be dissolved in the Treaty of Saint-Germain-en-Laye and Trianon. But what if that didn't happen? What if Prussia lost the Austro-Prussian War? In our own timeline, Bismarck managed to secure the neutrality of all European powers, especially France before entering the war, and was able to figure out when he pushed far enough. But just before the war, he was victim of an assassination attempt, which he survived. In this timeline he doesn't and passes away. The Austro-Prussian War still breaks out and Prussia continues to push towards Vienna. Just then France would declare war on Prussia and invade the Rhineland. The Austrians would reassemble their forces and defeat the Prussians at the Battle of Korneuburg, forcing the Prussian to withdraw. Slowly the combined strength of Austria-Prussia would be eventually forced to surrender, soon followed by Italy. France would annex everything west of the Rhine, which did include the neutral Luxembourg and Limburg from the Netherlands, but also Palatinate, which belonged to Bavaria, which is on the winning side. Austria re-annexes Silesia and Schleswig and establishes a puppet regime in the Kingdom of Westphalia. Saxony would reannex its old territories, while Hanover takes the remaining Prussian territories west of the Elbe and bearing Mecklenburg-Schwerin. All of Prussia's allies are annexed into other states. In Italy, France would turn Piedmont-Sardinia into a vassal state, while Austria re-annexes Lombardy and re-establishes Tuscany, Modena and Reggio and Parma as vassals, while the Papal States get all of their territories back and Two Sicilies regains its independence. Following the war, Prussia is diminished and Italy was broken up. Both Austria and France gained glory from this war. This would worry Russia and the United Kingdom as the Franco-Austrian alliance begins to dominate Europe, and so they signed the Serdeczne Soglaszenie, or Cordial Agreement, which would be later expanded into the Triple Agreement with Prussia. The French Empire would endure, and after the death of Napoleon III in 1873, his son Louis would be crowned emperor as Napoleon IV, only for him to die 6 years later, and his cousin once removed Victor to become emperor as Napoleon V. In Austria, the Ostgleich with the Hungarians wouldn't happen, as Austria is in a stronger position. Without the fall of the French Empire, Russia isn't in a position to remilitarize the Black Sea and invade the Ottoman Empire in 1878, meaning the Ottomans still control most of the Balkans, bearing Greece. The Ottoman Empire might not spiral into collapse, losing Cyprus and North Africa to the Europeans, and also the Ottoman constitutional era might continue. Two parties might form from this, a Muslim conservative party that has appeal in rural areas and a federal liberal party that has appeal to non-Muslims and in urban areas. The scramble for Africa probably doesn't happen, as it spiraled out when France decided to regain its honor by conquering West lands in Africa, pushing the rest of Europe to do the same. The Young Turk Revolution and Balkan Wars don't happen in this timeline. Austria likely still struggled from ethnic issues, likely even more than in our own timeline. While it doesn't break out over the Balkans, the Great War could still break up with France, Austria, Two Sicilies and the Ottoman Empire on one side, and the United Kingdom, Russia, Prussia and Portugal on the other. The combined forces of Austria and France quickly managed to deal with Prussia before Russia could arrive and capture Berlin. The Prussian government would flee to Königsberg and they hold defensive positions east of the Vistula. Russia would see early success in Galicia only to then get defeated in Krakow. Until 1915, Russia would be slowly forced out of Poland, and with that Prussia too would fall, and after the fall of Königsberg, Prussia surrendered. Russia would surrender by 1916, after which Portugal signed an armistice, followed by the United Kingdom did so too in 1917. Portugal and the United Kingdom didn't really have to give up any land and were left intact. For Russia and Prussia, the story is completely changed. Austria established the Kingdom of Poland under Archduke Charles Stephan or King Karol Stephan, which contains Congress Poland, Posen Prussia, but also Galicia and Lodomeria and Bukovina. The Ottoman Empire renexed Bessarabia and Yadison and established the Crimean Khanate under Pavlo Skoropadsky, the Kingdom of Georgia under Prince Alexander Bagration the Prince of Mukrani, Khanate of Azerbaijan under Fadli Khan Koyski, and the Kingdom of Armenia under Prince Emmanuel Filiberto Duke of Vlasta. In Eastern Europe, Austria establishes the Kingdom of Ukraine under Archduke Wilhelm of Austria, or Vasil I, Kingdom of Belarus under Prince Leopold of Bavaria, Kingdom of Lithuania under Wilhelm Karl, Duke of Urach or Mindaugas II, Grand Duchy of Livonia under Duke Adolf Friedrich of Mecklenburg, and the Kingdom of Finland under Prince Frederick Charles of Hesse or Frederick Karl. The Ottoman Empire also puppets Montenegro and Greece. During the war, France also invaded Belgium and directly annexed it. Nonetheless, they still feel cheated as they barely got anything while the Ottomans and Austrians expanded greatly into Russia and Prussia. France would start to denounce Austria and start to be hostile towards them. Following the dissolution of the Kingdom of Prussia, Prussia was turned into the Kingdom of Brandenburg and was essentially just an Austrian client. Making a Bavarian, Württembergian, Hessian and Mecklenburgian prince kings, Austria managed to increase their control over these lands, and with Austria already exerting a lot of control over Hanover and Saxony after the anti-Prussian War, Austria achieved total control over the German Confederation and pushed for unification. The only real voice against this came from Baden and the Thuringian states, which were too irrelevant. The German Confederation was turned into the German Empire with Franz Ferdinand as its emperor. Their Italian puppets and Lombardy Venetia were turned into the Kingdom of Italy under Grand Duke Peter Ferdinand of Tuscany, while Hungary and Croatia became independent kingdoms in a personal union with Germany. Just like in the 16th century, the Hapsburg dominate large swaths of Europe. France, meanwhile, would ally with Russia and the United Kingdom to somehow stop this behemoth. Speaking of Russia, the Russian Revolution wouldn't happen, but following this humiliation, the monarchy would be overthrown and Russia would become a democracy under Alexander Kerensky in 1920. Following his 2 terms, in 1928 Alexander Kolchak, with support from the right, consisting of National Socialists, Fascists, Monarchists and Militarists, would win the presidential election. With the Great Depression, the Russian Fascist Party under Konstantin Rodzewski would grow massively and just narrowly lose in 1932 to Kolchak, who was now supported by liberals, only for Kolchak to make him his prime minister. Rodzewski would quickly center power around himself and turn Russia into a fascist totalitarian one-party state. A Second World War would likely break out between Germany on one side and France and Russia on the other. Germany would implement the so-called Hot Send-Off Plan, namely invading France through the Netherlands. The French, and now also the British, who joined the war after the invasion of the Netherlands, would meet the Germans in the Netherlands, only for the Germans to encircle them in Rotterdam. The British Expeditionary Force manages to escape, while the French were destroyed. The Germans also managed to capture Napoleon VI. In Paris, the army under Philippe Pétain took over and sued for peace. Germany would annex the Rhineland, Luxembourg and Limburg, while the Netherlands and Belgium are turned into the Kingdom of Burgundy, which is a puppet of Germany under Archduke Eugen of Austria. France loses its northeast to Burgundy, while the coasts are occupied by Germany. The south becomes the Kingdom of France, with Alfonso XIII of Spain becoming its king as Alphonse I and with Pierre Laval as prime minister. Piedmont Sardinia was absorbed into the Kingdom of Italy. Meanwhile, in the east, Russia made gains at first, but as defeated as the Battle of Poltava. In 1940, Germany launched its own offensive and made great gains encircling Petrograd and winning in Moscow. In 1942 they win in Rodzewski Grad and push the Russians to the Volga River, and the Ottomans and Japanese also joined. In Kazan the army would coup Rodzewski, and then sign a peace treaty. Finland annexed Karelia and Murmansk, Belarus got Smolensk and Ukraine got Belgorod. The Ottoman Empire expands into southern Russia and secures the independence of Turkestan. Everything west of the Urals became the Russian Tsardom under Vladimir III, a German puppet, while Manchuria annexed Outer Manchuria. The rest of Russia endured as the Republic of Siberia, which was effectively just a Japanese puppet. Germany would then invade Spain and restore Alfonso as its king, uniting France and Spain briefly before Alfonso died just shortly thereafter, and two of his sons inherited one kingdom each. Portugal would also be invaded, and the monarchy was restored under Durdo Nuno. Both Spain and Portugal are Herman puppets. The alliance would control almost the entirety of Europe, bearing Scandinavia and the British Isles. The Germans, having a much bigger economy, would build up their naval capabilities, while Japan sees success in Southeast Asia, taking Burma and Papua, and fighting the British in India. In 1945, Germany launches Operation Sea Lion, which ends with the fall of the British Empire. With that, the war ends with the Japanese controlling most of Asia and Germany controlling most of Europe. In this timeline, Austria would become a great power and control the entirety of Europe, while its main adversaries are Japan, and to a lesser degree the Ottoman Empire. If you liked the episode, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye.